There comes a moment in every man's life when she reaches out again. Maybe it's been weeks, months, or even years. The message is simple, "Hey," or "How have you been?" But it hits like a spark to an old fire. And instantly, your mind begins to race. You start replaying the past, wondering what it means, whether she misses you, whether you should reply or stay silent. But here's the truth every Stoic man must remember: your response determines your power. Because when she reaches out, it's not really a test of her intentions, it's a test of your discipline. The rule of detachment: the Stoics taught that emotional detachment is not indifference, it's freedom. It means you no longer let your peace depend on what another person says, feels, or does. When a woman reaches out after distance or silence, the untrained man reacts emotionally. He gets excited, hopeful, nostalgic. He gives her power over his inner world. But the Stoic pauses. He breathes. He asks himself, why does this affect me? If your peace shakes from a simple message, it means you still haven't mastered yourself. Because true strength is the ability to stay calm, to feel, but not be ruled by feelings. Understanding the hidden motive: not every message means what it seems. Sometimes she misses you. Sometimes she's lonely. Sometimes she just wants to know she still has access to you. Women often test not with words, but with actions. A simple "hey" can mean, "Do you still need me? Or can I still control you?" This is not manipulation, it's human nature. People test boundaries when they're unsure of your strength. That's why your reaction matters more than her reason. Because when you reply immediately, emotionally, or desperately, you tell her that you're still the same man she walked away from. And that's the opposite of power. The power of silence. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. When you don't respond right away, you send a message louder than words: I am no longer moved by what once broke me. The Stoic understands that silence is the most elegant form of self-respect. It's not about ignoring her to win, it's about protecting your peace. If she truly wants to reconnect, she will show consistency. But if her reach out was only for validation, your silence will expose it. Never rush to fill silence with answers. Let silence reveal the truth. Emotional discipline: the Stoic weapon. Every man must learn the art of emotional discipline. It doesn't mean you stop feeling, it means you stop leaking emotions uncontrollably. When she reaches out, your old emotions will rise: nostalgia, desire, maybe even regret. But if you let those emotions make your decisions, you'll repeat your past. The Stoic approach is simple: observe without reacting. Feel without chasing. Decide from reason, not impulse. It's the difference between a boy who reacts and a man who responds. Emotional discipline is what keeps your dignity intact when the world, or a woman, tries to shake your center. Why most men fail this test: most men fail not because they're weak, but because they're untrained. They mistake emotional intensity for connection. They think a message means destiny. They believe silence means anger. But a Stoic man sees through the illusion. He knows that time and distance reveal truth better than words ever could. He doesn't rush to re-enter a situation that once brought him pain just because the door opened again. He values peace more than potential. And that's what separates the wise from the impulsive, the one who acts from clarity, not emotion. The mirror of self-respect: every time you respond to something that doesn't deserve your energy, you weaken your self-respect. Every time you chase what left you, you tell the world you haven't learned your worth. The Stoic's power lies in restraint. Not because he doesn't care, but because he refuses to give his power away. When she reaches out, the question is not should I reply. The real question is, does this align with the man I've become? If it doesn't, your answer is silence. Because silence is not the absence of communication, it's the highest form of self-control. When silence speaks louder than words in the modern world, everyone chases response. People fear being ignored more than being misunderstood. But Stoicism teaches that silence has its own voice. It's the voice of boundaries, of dignity, of emotional maturity. When you stay silent, you're not punishing anyone. You're just refusing to engage with what no longer serves you. Let her feel the distance she created. Let her wonder if you've moved on, because you have. And if your silence feels cold, remember, it's not cruelty. It's clarity. What if she's genuine? Of course, not every message comes with hidden motives. Sometimes, people do change. Sometimes, they reach out with sincerity. The Stoic approach isn't to assume the worst, it's to test reality. If her actions match her words, if her energy is consistent, if she brings peace instead of confusion, then you can reply from a place of strength, not need. But even then, remain grounded. Don't fall into old patterns. Let your boundaries remain sacred. Because if your peace depends on her again, you've learned nothing. The Stoic rule to remember: never make emotional decisions in moments of emotional charge. When she reaches out, pause. Detach. Observe. If your mind feels restless, wait. If your heart races, breathe. If your ego wants to prove something, stay silent. You'll be amazed how clarity arrives when emotion fades. And most of the time, you'll realize, the peace of silence is worth more than the chaos of conversation. The illusion of closure: one of the biggest traps men fall into when she reaches out, is the craving for closure. You think, maybe now I'll finally understand what happened. You hope that she'll explain the past, apologize, or give you the peace you never got. But here's the hard truth: closure doesn't come from her words. It comes from your acceptance. Even if she explains everything, it won't undo the confusion, the waiting, or the hurt. Because closure is not about answers, it's about the decision to stop needing them. A Stoic man doesn't wait for closure, he creates it. He looks at what happened, learns from it, and lets it go. He doesn't need to reopen an old wound just to prove he's healed. Sometimes silence is the closure. When the past knocks, don't invite it in. The past has a way of knocking just when you've started to heal. It shows up as a message, a memory, or a familiar face, testing whether you've really moved on. And most men fail this test. They mistake the knock for fate. But the Stoic understands that not every door deserves to be opened. If peace cost you that person once, it will cost you again. Every time you allow the past to re-enter your present, you pay with your future. You can't move forward if you keep feeding ghosts. So when she reaches out, ask yourself, am I answering her, or my old loneliness? If it's the latter, stay silent. You don't owe anyone access to the healed version of you. The difference between reaction and response: reaction is emotional. Response is intentional. When she texts, the emotional part of you wants to react, to reply fast, to feel seen again, to prove you've moved on. But the wise man doesn't move from emotion. He moves from clarity. Before you respond, observe your own state. Are you grounded? Are you peaceful? Are you in control? Because if your hand shakes while typing, if your heart beats faster, you're not ready to reply. You're still reacting. A Stoic never reacts, he responds, and only when his emotions are quiet enough for wisdom to speak. The freedom of emotional independence. Emotional independence is the foundation of masculine peace. It's the ability to remain stable no matter who enters or leaves your life. When you no longer need someone's attention to feel worthy, you become untouchable. When you no longer need closure to move on, you become free. The modern man loses himself because he ties his happiness to external approval, to her validation, her message, her attention. But the Stoic builds from within. He knows that no woman, no relationship, no text can complete him. Only self-mastery can. That's why the greatest revenge is not ignoring her, it's evolving beyond the version of yourself that once needed her. Detachment is power, not bitterness. Many mistake detachment for coldness, but they're not the same. Bitterness says, I don't need anyone. Detachment says, I'm at peace, no matter what happens. Bitterness is reactive. It's a scar from pain. Detachment is mastery. It's the result of healing. When you're detached, you can love deeply without losing yourself. You can care without clinging. You can walk away without resentment. That's what it means to be Stoic, not to suppress emotion, but to rise above dependency. When she feels your absence, here's what happens when you choose silence: she feels it. At first, she wonders if you saw her message. Then, she starts to question if you've moved on. And finally, she realizes that the version of you she once knew, the one who would have replied instantly, no longer exists. That realization is powerful. It teaches her more than any words could. You didn't punish her. You evolved. And your evolution becomes the loudest message of all. The world always feels the absence of a man who has found his peace. The final Stoic truth: when she reaches out, don't ask what she wants. Ask what you want to become. If replying pulls you backward, stay silent. If replying disturbs your peace, choose distance. If replying costs your dignity, choose detachment. The Stoic doesn't act to impress, prove, or please. He acts from alignment with his highest self. So remember this rule: if it costs your inner peace, it's too expensive, no matter how beautiful the memory. Silence isn't rejection. It's evolution. And sometimes, the most powerful message you can send is no message at all. When silence becomes the ultimate response, there comes a point in a man's growth where silence becomes his sharpest weapon and his deepest wisdom. It's not that he doesn't care, it's that he refuses to waste his peace on situations that no longer deserve his energy. When she reaches out, many men confuse silence with weakness, as if the one who says nothing loses the battle. But in truth, silence is power disguised as calm. When you no longer respond from ego, you're no longer playing her game. When you no longer rush to explain, to justify, to chase, you shift from emotional dependence to emotional dominance. And that shift, that stillness, is something few ever achieve. Because most people are addicted to noise. They crave the constant reassurance of being heard, being seen, being relevant. But the Stoic knows, peace isn't found in attention, it's found in self-control. Your silence speaks of boundaries. It says, I've learned the lesson. I don't need to repeat it. It says, I've outgrown the version of me that tolerated confusion. And most importantly, it says, my time and my mind are sacred. Why you must protect your energy like a fortress. Energy is not infinite. Every message you reply to, every argument you revisit, every memory you replay, drains it. When she reaches out, you're not just deciding whether to talk to her. You're deciding whether to open the gates of your mental fortress. Every man has two choices in such moments: 1. To guard his peace and keep building forward. 2. Or to reopen the wounds he worked so hard to close. When you protect your energy, you choose yourself. You stop being available to things that break you. You realize that love without respect is not love, it's dependency. Most men lose their energy not because of hard work or struggle, but because they can't stop giving access to people who drain them emotionally. A strong man is not the one who can fight everyone. It's the one who knows what's worth fighting for, and what deserves silence. The psychology of her reach out. Let's be brutally honest, when she reaches out, it's rarely about pure love or sudden nostalgia. Sometimes she's lonely. Sometimes she wants to check if you still care. Sometimes she's simply curious if you've moved on. It's human nature, people crave emotional control. Reaching out is a way of saying, do I still have a hold over you? And your response, or lack of it, answers that question louder than words ever could. If you reply instantly, she knows she still has emotional power. If you reply calmly, she knows you've changed. If you don't reply at all, she realizes she's lost access, not to your phone, but to your soul. That's why silence terrifies the manipulative and unsettles the unsure. It removes the control they once had. The Stoic man never plays that game. He doesn't need to prove indifference, he simply embodies it. The rule of emotional minimalism in Stoic philosophy, one of the highest forms of mastery, is simplicity, emotional minimalism. This means cutting away everything that adds chaos and keeping only what nourishes peace. So when she reaches out, you ask yourself, does this bring me clarity or confusion? Does it bring me strength or exhaustion? Does it bring me peace or anxiety? If the answer isn't peace, you already know what to do. The modern man complicates his life by refusing to let go. He holds on to half-closed doors, half-finished conversations, half-healed wounds. But the Stoic simplifies. He removes what no longer aligns with his purpose. He doesn't chase closure, he chooses calm. That's how you live free, by saying no to what disturbs your balance. Why she respects the man who doesn't chase. Ironically, the moment you stop chasing is the moment you become most respected. Not because of arrogance, but because true detachment radiates power. A woman senses when a man's world doesn't revolve around her. She senses when he has purpose, discipline, and direction. That calm certainty makes her curious, even drawn, but by then, the Stoic has already moved beyond needing validation. The modern man often mistakes kindness for availability. He believes that to be good is to always answer, always be open, always be there. But there is strength in selective presence. To say no is not cruelty, it's clarity. To stay silent is not coldness, it's composure. The Stoic man loves deeply, but he never loses himself in love. He gives from abundance, not from emptiness. The moment you become untouchable, there is a silent transformation every man must go through. At first, you crave her attention. Then, you crave her apology. Later, you crave her absence. And finally, you crave nothing. That's when you become untouchable. Because you no longer need to control outcomes. You no longer need people to act the way you wish they would. You are content with reality as it is. This is the Stoic peak: acceptance without bitterness, detachment without pride. When you reach that state, her message, her silence, her attention, none of it defines your mood anymore. You've become free. Freedom, after all, isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to remain peaceful in the presence of it. A final lesson: don't respond to the past from the present. When she reaches out, you're not talking to her. You're talking to a memory of what once was. But memories can't love you back. They can only replay what's already gone. So before replying, ask yourself, are you responding to the woman she is now, or to the version you still miss? If it's the latter, close the chat. Take a breath. Smile at how far you've come. Because every time you choose silence, you remind yourself, peace is the reward for emotional discipline. And that is what separates a stoic man from a reactive one, the power to choose stillness over impulse, wisdom over emotion, growth over nostalgia. So when she reaches out, don't see it as a test of love. See it as a test of mastery. And when in doubt, stay silent.